Friday, September 1st. My last class of the day is Language Arts with Mrs. Bridges. If you think we're slugs in the morning with Miss Alvarez, you should see us by sixth period. Some kids actually fall asleep, but I don't think they're completely to blame. By the time we get to sixth period, the portable's air conditioners have been struggling along for 7 hours, with the doors constantly opening and closing. We're sweating buckets by then. We're wilting. Even Mrs. Bridges' perm is wilting by then. But today, when the speaker crackled on and the gong bell sounded, I was filled with new energy. I hefted up my gym bag and set off for the soccer tryouts. Just to the south of the portables is a baseball diamond with a scoreboard that says, Lake Windsor Middle School, home of the Seagulls. The soccer field is to the left of that, next to a stretch of undeveloped land. As I left the wooden walkways, Joey fell into step with me, and we jogged along together toward the fields. "You're a pretty good goalie, right?" he asked me. "Right," I said. "Then I'm going out for fullback." "Hey, we need at least 2 goalies. What if I get killed?" "You're not going to get killed. I'll play fullback. I like fullback. You get to knock people down." "Suit yourself." Joey pointed to a circle of kids near the sideline. "Check out Tommy over there, the kid with the ball. He's from the Philippines. Awesome display, man. Awesome." I looked over and recognized a kid from my homeroom, Tommy Acoso. He had a group of guys standing around watching him like he was a juggler. We stopped to watch too. He kept hitting the ball straight up into the air with his head, feet, and knees, never letting it touch the ground, just keeping it going and going and going. Sometimes he would make it stop dead, right on his forehead. It was an awesome display. Not all of these guys were the toe stubbers I had played with last week. "That's Gino over there," Joey whispered. "Gino DeLuca. He'll be the captain this year." "No doubt. He was a co-captain last year. Scored 22 goals. I saw a big guy, big for a soccer player, with long curly black hair. He was driving penalty kicks into the net from 12 yards out. I asked Joey, "Where's he from?" "I don't know. New Jersey, I think." Gino kept hammering penalty shots into the upper left corner of the goal while a tall kid in a gray sweatshirt retrieved the ball and rolled it back. Gino is obviously a major leaguer. He's the kind of guy you have to have on a soccer team in order to win. The guy who wants to take the penalty kicks. The guy who's hungry to score the goals. The head coach is Mr. Walski, an 8th grade teacher. He blew a whistle and we all moved toward him. He looks more like a basketball guy to me, but he coached the soccer team last season and he knows most of the 7th and 8th graders. He's tall and nearly bald. When he spoke, it was in a raspy voice. "I want to congratulate you guys on making the team." There was a scattering of laughter. "For those of you who may not know it, our policy in the Lake Windsor Middle School soccer program is this. Everybody makes the team, everybody practices, and everybody gets a uniform. However," and he paused here for emphasis, "that does not mean that everybody is, as we say, on the bus. Everybody cannot, and I must emphasize, cannot, go to every away game. We have a small team bus, and we have restrictions due to insurance. We can only take 15 guys away to the away games. That's our policy. You're part of this team from day one, but your part may be to play in practice games only, and to dress for the home games only. Does everybody understand?" There were nods around the group. The coach continued, "Okay, let's get started. Gino, you're the captain. Take them twice around the field. Then we're going to break into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade groups and start calisthenics. Let's move out." I ran with Joey and about 30 other guys twice around the field. "That means half of us are dog meat," Joey muttered. "What are you complaining about? You're on the team." 15 kids are on the real team, and 15 kids are dog meat. I was dog meat last year, and it was a drag. I don't want to do that again. "Hey, it makes sense to me. Why drive all these extra guys to a game when there's no chance they're going to play?" "Yeah, that's easy for you to say." After calisthenics, we broke into groups to kick the ball around. I had no reason to do that, so I found my gym bag and got out my goggles, knee pads, and elbow pads. Gino and some other 8th graders were back at the goal, kicking shots at the kid in the gray sweatshirt. I walked up next to the goal and stood there until they couldn't help but notice me. The kid in gray checked out my goggles and said, Yow! It came from Mars! The 8th graders laughed. But when I didn't go away, Gino said to me, "You here to play or are you here to model sportswear?" "To play." Gino motioned, and the kid in the gray sweatshirt stood off to the side. I moved into the goal, dead in the center, and placed my heels on the chalk line. A kid with red hair was next in line to kick. He took a shot that rolled wide of the goal. I never even moved. I was waiting for Gino, and he knew it. He called for the ball and then placed it with care on the penalty line. He stepped back 3 paces and looked right at me. I got down into my goalie crouch, a coiled spring ready to release. Gino, shouted like a samurai, took 2 quick steps and started his powerful kick. I sprang up and to my right, exactly where I had watched him kick every other penalty shot. I heard the sound of his foot walloping the ball, and then I felt it smack against my right wrist. The ball flew away from the goal as fast as it had flown in. It sailed toward the far sideline. I hit the ground and popped up, immediately ready for more. Gino looked at the ball bouncing away in the distance, and then looked back at me. He seemed genuinely surprised. "Whoa," he said quietly, and gave me a thumbs-up sign with both hands. The kid in gray sweatshirt hung around by the goal for another minute. Then he casually walked out and joined the others in the line, waiting for a turn to kick one at me. The coach didn't see any of this, but I knew I had just landed the job. I was now the Lake Windsor Middle School goaltender. First string goaltender. On the bus goaltender. Tuesday, September 5th. Mom and I had just returned home from the supermarket. We were unloading her station wagon, carrying bags of groceries from the garage into the kitchen when Arthur and Eric pulled up in the Land Cruiser. There was mud splattered all over the sides, all over the tinted windows, and even up on that center spotlight. Eric got out of the passenger side and walked up to Mum slowly and solemnly. Arthur got out and followed him. Eric stopped just inside the garage and said, "Mike Costello is dead, Mum. He got killed at practice today." Mum and I stopped still, the supermarket bags weighing down our arms. Neither of us moved or knew what to do next. We stared at him, speechless, until he continued in the same voice. He was just standing there in the end zone. He had one hand on the goalpost, leaning on it, and kaboom! There was a crack and a flash, and he went flying through the air. He landed right on his back, right there on the goal line. By now, Mum was staring hard at him, trying to understand the point of his speech. "Eric? The boy who was here, Mike, is dead?" "Dead before he hit the ground. Arthur and I went over and looked at him, right?" Arthur spoke up. "Right. The whole left side of his hair was burned off, singed right off, you know." Mum still did not seem to comprehend. She struggled for words. What, Eric, tell me exactly what you did." "Me? Nothing at all. There was nothing I could do. Coach Warner, all the other coaches, they surrounded him. They started banging on his chest." Arthur added, "Banging on him." "Doing CPR. Everybody was going nuts. Dad started running up to his car phone, dialing 911. Mum said, Your father called 911? "Yeah, ambulances came, cop cars came. They had this power pack thing, you know." Arthur said, "Jump-starting him." "They were trying to jump-start his heart. They were sticking needles in him, everything. But nothing worked because he was already dead. He was dead before he hit the ground." "What about Jack Costello? Was he there watching all of this?" "No, I didn't see him. I think his brother was there." Eric looked over at Arthur. "Was that his brother?" Arthur said, "Yeah," and seemed to fight back a smile. Eric continued, "His little brother freaked out. He went crazy. He kept trying to take off Mike's shoes. I thought the coach was going to have to smack him. He wouldn't get out of the way. Just kept trying to get his shoes off. Did you see that?" Eric looked at Arthur again, who covered up his face with his hand. Mum picked up the phone. She tried to reach Dad, first at his mobile number, then through his office beeper, but she couldn't. I asked her, "Should I call Joey?" No, we can't call the Costellos now. We can't intrude on them now." Mum banged out another number on the phone. "I'm going to try this school." There was no answer at the school either. Mum stood there, staring at the bags of groceries. She looked like she was going to pass out. The ring of the telephone made her jump. It was Dad, calling from the hospital. He told her basically the same story that Eric had, right down to Joey Costello and the problem with Mike's shoes. Joey and his parents were at the hospital, and Mike had been officially pronounced dead. Dad said that everyone there was in a state of shock. I know I was. I carried my bag of groceries onto the kitchen and set them down. Then I heard a strange sound. It was the sound of voices in the backyard. Happy voices. I looked through the patio doors and saw Eric and Arthur. They were laughing. I stepped closer to the doors and I could hear Eric saying, "Did you see his hair? Did you see the side of his head? He got mohawked, man." Arthur said, "Mohawked." I watched them in disbelief. How could they be happy? Who were these two people? Then I realized it. They were the two people who will benefit from Mike Costello's death. And they were celebrating it. Eric grabbed at Arthur's shoes and screamed in a high-pitched voice, "The shoes! Give me the shoes!" I turned to look for Mum. She was still in the garage on the phone with Dad. She saw none of this. She heard none of this. I turned back to watch the cruel comedy routine on the other side of the glass. There they were, Eric and a nasty friend, just like I remembered them in Houston. Nothing had changed except the name of the friend. I felt sick and confused. I asked myself, how could this happen? How could this happen to Mike Costello? He was a nice guy. He was number 2 on the depth chart. He was already accepted into the School of Engineering at FSU. And I answered myself, here's how. Because Mike Costello didn't fit into the Eric Fisher football dream. Mike would never, could never have been sitting out there with Eric and laughing at such a thing. Now Mike is dead, but the dream lives on.